Namaskar. Welcome to this session. We are dealing with the fabulous topic of Samskaras and Vasanas, which has been the great endowment of our Adhyatma, Adhyatmic Parampara, Adhyatma Shastra. And therein we were considering the Shat Chakras, and we have come to the last chakra called Agna Chakra. So we will be today discussing Agna Samskara, Agna Chakra Samskara, Vritti, Samskara and Vaasana. Agna Chakra is the last of the 6 chakras, and these 6 chakras work for our karma, works in our karma, and also the karma is worked by Shat Chakras. So there is a lot of karma prabhava on these chakras, and these chakras put a lot of karma prabhava. So karma influences the 6 plexii, and the 6 plexii in turn also put a lot of impact on the karma. And of course the 7th chakra is Sahasrara chakra. But in concept of Shat Chakras, the 7th is excluded. This is worth taking note of. Even there is mention of Nava Chakras, and many chakras are there. But Shat Chakras have a lot of influence on karma, and karma also influences these chakras and their functioning. Now this Agna Chakra is related to our Ahamkara, and I am not referring to Ahamkara that is understood in common man's parlance. More often it is considered as kind of facet of ego, but this is Adhyatmic concept. Anyway, the Agna Chakra has a lot of influence on Ahamkara. As a matter of fact, each chakra works on our Aham. Mooladhara contributes for Aham, Swadhisthana contributes for Aham. Swadhisthana very pronounced in its contribution. Manipuraka too contributes. Anahata and Vishuddhi too contribute. But Ajneya has a special place insofar as shaping, constituting, influencing the Aham. The Swadhisthana constitutes for Aham of one lifetime, but this works on our Aham. That is eternal until liberation. So that's why these are called Ahamkara Sallagna Vasana, Ahamkara related Vasanas, Ahamkara connected Vasanas. At this juncture, at the outset, let me tell you that the moment the life is born, Jivatvam comes up. Right from infanthood for human form of life, we have Deha, Avayava, Dehendriya, and brain, mind. So we are born with all these aspects the moment we take a birth. When the child is born, the baby is born, it has body, mind, brain, senses, brain and trunk, brain and brawn. But then it is in a very raw tender condition, many of the things, and that's why we know the body grows, the brain evolves, the mind evolves. However, they all come into existence the moment Jivatvam or life-ness sets in. And some of those aspects are quite visible, but many of those aspects are invisible. And therefore we say that the baby is growing week by week, month by month, year by year. The baby also has the Ahamtva, but that Ahamtva, the I-ness of the baby, mine-ness of the baby, is not gochara, it is not perceivable, it is not graspable. The baby is born with Aham, but we don't sense the Aham of the baby. And we think the baby has no Aham, and that's why we say the babies are very innocent beings. It is because we cannot sight their Aham, nor can they make us feel their Aham. They have their I, but they don't show their I, nor can we see its I, nor does it make us see its I. And that's why we say the babies are innocent. So, the I-ness in baby is quite different, and it is quite ungraspable. But later, when it comes to age, it starts developing, the Aham starts blooming and blossoming. It comes to Abhivyakti. So also, Manas and Manovyaparas. The baby is born with a mind. Not that the baby is mindless. It is not true that the baby doesn't have the mind. But then we see as the baby grows, week by week and month by month and year by year, the mind blooms and blossoms. So same thing happens to the I-ness of the baby, the mind of the baby, intelligence of the baby, psyche consciousness of the baby. And the body too grows. The body also grows week by week and month by month and year by year. And up to some age, the growth is there. And thereafter, the body growth, in terms of stages, comes to an end. It's a fully developed body. So also is the case of brain. The point is, the Aham is not Abhivyakta, it is Anabhivyakta. It is unperceivable for life which is just born. So, later it starts blooming, blossoming, developing, growing, and that is quite astonishing. But except the parents, others don't take that as something very astonishing. So the point is, the moment we come to birth, we come to existence. We come to existence, but we don't have the identity. We don't have the mamatva, ahamtva. It is slowly going to develop after a period of time. So we are born when we are born, but our I is not born as soon as we are born. It takes some time. So it is so minuscule, so very microscopic that we end up saying that the baby doesn't have the I-ness. The baby doesn't have the Ahamkara. The baby doesn't have even the I-ness. When the I-ness is not there, how can the Ahamkara be there? But Later, the Aham, the I-ness starts growing at a very rapid pace. And then it goes on increasing so rapidly that there is a forestation of I-ness and mine-ness. It also, or the Ahamtva, the I-ness can grow to monstrous scale. The mamatva, there will be a forestation of mamatva, mine-ness, this is mine, that is mine. So, the mamatva takes birth after we take birth. And the Aham, in the sense of ego, becomes older, fatherly than we ourselves. After the baby is born, it is later that I-ness grows, but the I-ness almost becomes fatherly. So that's again a strange thing. So the Ajneya chakra is related to this Aham. That is what is to be understood here. Even in a child, you will start the child slowly developing the possessiveness and mine-ness. If any chocolate is brought, the child says, this is mine. Bring some cookies, the child says, it is mine. Any toy, it says, this is mine. So, the child starts developing possessiveness to its things soon after it develops its I-ness. Then it starts developing mamatva, mine-ness. This is mine, that is mine. So it is so strange that the child is not aware of I, but it is aware of mine. Try to understand what I am trying to put across. The child doesn't have I, but the mine-ness, this is mine, that is mine, everything is mine, that grows rapidly. This is a strange thing because mine doesn't have existence without the I. If the pronoun I is not there, you cannot have mine. But in case of a baby, the I-ness is not there, but the mine-ness is there. It has possessiveness, but it doesn't have identity. So that's a strange thing. So it starts recognizing after a while that all these identities with the things. Although it doesn't have its own identity, it starts having identity with other things. But strangely, the baby soon gets the mine-ness in the sense, this is my mother, this is my father. So that comes quite early. It starts recognizing its father and mother. It starts recognizing its parents. It also identifies its parents. Although it doesn't have the pronoun I, that much developed. Now this is a strange thing. But later, all the things which are around it, which it likes it starts not only claiming this is what I like, but it says this is mine. All that the baby likes, it will say it is mine. We adults don't claim that. If we claim that, we are insane. All that we like, if we start claiming it is mine, it is insanity. However, the baby starts claiming all that it likes, it starts claiming this is mine, that is mine. There are so many things which are its, which are of the baby And it says, I want this, I want that, I want everything. However, that I doesn't have a clamour, but the baby has a clamour. So that's a strange thing that is to be noted. The child is yet innocent, but it has its possessiveness. And of course, soon that goes away as the child grows, and then the I-ness starts growing at a more rapid pace than the mine-ness. So the I-ness takes over mine-ness. Mine-ness is actually ahead of it, but the I-ness makes up and overtakes it. So it's very interesting to understand the subjective entity, subjectivistic entity. And later, the Aham becomes more pervasive in a mean way. This is the mindset of a young one, grown up one. So they become mean. Their pronoun I becomes mean in a strange way that it becomes more circumscribing. And then this can ultimately lead to become a dogmatic person, egoistic person. So that's something very strange. And until the prime time, it is interesting to see how the I-ness and mine-ness evolves. Those who are in the Adhyatma start watching this. They start understanding it. How the mapping of Aham changes, the characteristics of Aham changes, attributes of Aham changes, and what happens once one is past prime age and leans towards adulthood and then proceeds towards old age. So it's very interesting to map the I-ness of a person from infanthood to childhood to adolescence to teenage to youth to adulthood and then beyond. But usually those who are not Adhyatmic minded, they don't bother about it, though it is not fascinating them even. Anyway, now let's try to turn to the very important principle that metaphysics speaks about is Aham. What we render as I-ness in English. So what we claim as this is mine and that is mine, it's all clamour of the pronoun I. And in mundanity, there is hardly any chance of this waning. As a matter of fact, there is afforestation and the afforestation of it and the growth and constant growth in it. So in materialistic people, it goes on growing and growing and growing, although it assumes discrepancy, dependence and debilitated condition, it only suffers. Therefore, Adhyatma tunes the Ahamtva with the stages of life which appear, and therefore the life is more organized. The strange thing to be noted that before the pronoun I comes up, the mine-ness appears. Actually, mine-ness should come from the I-ness, but the mine-ness becomes manifest, and there is a clamour of mine-ness before even the I-ness comes up. However, the locus of mine-ness is I-ness. So little thought has to be invested into this. What is I-ness and what is mine-ness? And what are the characteristics and attributes of I-ness and mine-ness? And how I-ness is locus of mine-ness. Anyway, the mine-ness plays havoc in our materiality. Particularly those who are material-minded people, the mine-ness plays havoc. Unnecessarily the things are taken as one's own things, one's own possessions. While those who are spiritually wise, they have better understanding of what is really mine and what is not really mine. And that's why Adhyatma is important, in order that there is no messing up with the mine-ness. Materialistic people invariably mess up with it, and it is quite a monstrous thing, and it really creates havoc in life. So ask a materialistic man, who are you and what everything is yours? Now, a saintly person, he questions this materialistic man, hey man, tell me really, who are you and what is yours? Are you clear about it? So a saintly and wise person can really bring confusion in the mind of a materialistic person when the spiritual person expects the materialistic person to describe and mention with clarity and certainty as to what is mine. So the wise people have better understanding of what is mine, while the materialistic people have pseudo concept of mine. What is not theirs, they claim it is theirs. And their insanity is quickly exposed. So the insanity of materialistic people can be quickly exposed by putting question with regards to the subjectivistic entity, the pronoun I, the I-ness and mine-ness. The materialistic people has no clue to I-ness, but the mine-ness is afforested. This is very intriguing. It is quite havoc making. There is a lot of havoc by the mine-ness, while there is no clue to really me. Materialistic person is absolutely blind, ignorant about the subjectivistic entity, and that's why materialism finds roots. It is because of the ignorance, it is because of the avidya and agna that the materialism takes strong footholds and grows, and then plays havoc with our life. Unless there is satsanga and adhyatmic pravartana, one really doesn't turn to oneself. I-ness doesn't become an object of inquiry unless one has turned back towards materialism and is adhyatmically inclined. So materialistic people don't have to go in search of I-ness at all, they don't go therefore. But spiritual minded people go in search of that. And that is why Adhyatma says that Jadavada, Bhogavada, materialism is all Ajnanam. It is lack of knowledge. The baby and child infant has a kind of Ajnana. It is of one kind. It really doesn't know the Aham. It is, and very true. But there is a lot of clamour of mine-ness. And then that really plays havoc. But once self-inquiry comes, this clamour will be turned down. And that is why it is suggested that one should turn to Adhyatma as early as possible in life. So, let us say what a saintly person has to say here. He says, "Hey man, sunk into mundanity, worldliness, materiality, you claim that this body is yours. You think it is all your right and your possession, and therefore you are carrying out entire mundanity for the sake of that. You are expending whole life with the false notion of who you are and what you are, and the whole life in ultimate analysis goes waste. Not only give waste, but it's a big spoiler. And that is why the wise person, sagacious person, draws ones towards Adhyatma, Paramartha, Satsanga, to really have some idea as to what we are not. Otherwise, any materialistic person is misled for lifetime. And actually the Ahamtva is metaphysically very, very subtle entity. And then there is such an enormous amount of edema or growth which spoils our life and conduct of life. So it's actually edema. The mundane person has nothing but edema in body and mind, because the pronoun I, the principle of I, is so microscopic. As one of the Upanishads described the dimension of it, it's very interesting. It says that take a end of the hair on your head, hair of your body, take the end of it and make 100 pieces of it, divide it into 100 pieces, and take one of the 100 pieces and again divide into 100. Now that is the dimension of this metaphysical pronoun I. It's so microscopic, electron microscopic. And see the embodiment, look at it, huge embodiment of 80, 90, 100 kilos, 5 feet, 5.5 feet to 6 feet to 6.5 feet to 7 feet, huge mass over that principle. And once by spiritual enlightenment one realizes the pronoun I, all these things vaporize, evaporate. Like the wise, sagacious person says, "Hey man, sunk into mundanity, you start claiming this is mine, that is mine, so much is mine, all that is mine, and you are untiringly having this clamour of what is mine and what is mine, but you do not know really where is you, what is you, where are you. So, are you not misled in your life? And therefore, a wise, sagacious man can influence a mortal, mundane man into Adhyatma and Paramartha, and then be accomplished in life, rather than be absolutely unaccomplished in life by not even recognizing, knowing the pronoun I, metaphysical entity, eternal entity, birthless entity, deathless entity, decayless entity, immutable entity. So, Agna Chakra plays a great role in this inquiry. So, in the spiritual realm, Agna Chakra gets that much importance. So, there is again distinction to be understood between Swadhisthana Gata Aham and Agnya Gata Aham, because both are working for our subjective entity. Swadhisthana precisely works for Swa, and Agnya shapes the Aham. Now let's try to understand how the Agnya Chakra has its function. Let's try to understand the plight of we commoners. If you look at our own life, we decide so many things and not even worth 1% chance of that really coming true. More often, opposite comes true. You decide and it doesn't happen. You decide and it happens opposite. You don't decide and it happens. You decide otherwise and then it happens otherwise. So, we have to have lots of compromises in life. Many times we express our defeat in life, saying that I could never attain it, I could never get it, I wanted it, I could not get it. So many times we raise our hands up, declaring our defeat, conceding our defeat. But the I continues to live. And some people have a very strong I-ness. They decide and it happens. Whatever they decide, it happens. Whatever way they decide, it happens. How much soever they might decide, it happens that much. That's called Sankalpa Shakti, resolution power, resoluteness. So we know the plight generally and commonly we have. It is because of mismanagement of Agnya Chakra, malfunctioning of Agnya Chakra, and lack of nourishment, nutrition, tuning of Agnya Chakra. It is because of which we have to compromise with ourself. Or on the other hand, there is something that is called as Abhiman, Durabhiman, which also gets afforested. So either there is a constipation to pronoun I entity, or there is a chronic loose motion in pronoun I entity. What does this mean? The chronic kind of loose motion means always compromising, always defeated. When I is always defeated, the I decides, but that doesn't happen. If that is the character, or there's a signature condition of one's life, that one decides and it doesn't happen, or one decides and opposite happens, then their I-ness is in a diarrhea condition. While some people have constipated condition, while some people have iron will, some people have very strong will, it's almost like iron. So we know this how we have various personalities in the world. On the other hand, we have durabhimani, abhimani, atyabhimani, that means the ego getting afforested and then completely making one get misled in life. We decide that so many things in life that I will never ever do it, but we end up doing it so often. We are forced to do it so often, or we on our own indulge in those things. So we decide in life, I am going to do only this thing, and then we hardly can persevere. We can hardly be steadfast. You know how many times we give up, again embark upon it, again give up, again embrace, again give up. And we decide in our lives certain things we will never ever do. But tendencies draw us there, or circumstances draw us there. And we repeatedly go on doing it. Although we have resolved, I will never do it, we end up doing it often. For various reasons. It could be tendency or it can be circumstance. So we have to compromise often. This is the compromising nature that I spoke about. This is because of the Ajna chakra mismanaged. On the other hand, we have people of will of steel. Their will is like steel, absolutely unshakable. They decide and they do it. So the will power and will manifestation is exceptional in these people, and then we end up describing them as people with steel mind, people with steel resoluteness, etc. So the Ajna chakra does that. Anyway, the point is, Aham is the most complicated thing in this universe. Having gone through 8.4 million life classes, umpteen number of times, returning to various life forms, and taking birth, life after life after life after life, death after death after death after death, it is ageless. And therefore that is most complicated. Our Aham is constituted by our Purva Janmas, our past manifestations. There is also a mighty contribution of our ancestors, of our genealogical background. There is also contribution of ethnicity, and we have gone through so many ethnicities in so many human manifestations. They all definitely have trace, they definitely have contribution. So it is very, very, very complicated. It has 8.4 million life forms. Our eye has ants' eye to elephant's eye to blue whale's eye to dinosaur eye. Every kind of eye it has. Name any animal, any creature, it is there. Then the eye also has the I-ness of celestial beings and infernal beings, and that too with several rounds of appearances in various life forms. The pronoun I has influence of our maternal ancestry and paternal ancestry of this life and previous lives as well. We had so many maternal ancestries and so many paternal ancestries in our all human manifestations. They are all established in our pronoun I. Then our pronoun I has also other aspects of identities apart from, as I said, ancestral identities of maternal and paternal sides, and that too several maternal paternal ancestries. So also there is Deshabhimana, Jatyabhimana, Varnabhimana, Vanshabhimana, Dharmabhimana. Abhimana of so many kinds are there. Our native place of this life, our caste and class of this life, our class and caste and creed of this life, our ethnicity of this life, maybe our belief that we have embraced in this life. So there are so many aspects which are influencing and are constituents of our pronoun I. So that's why it is very complicated. And this complicated aspect is handled by Ajneya Chakra in a very significant way. Say for an individual there is Vayaktik Prarabdha, individual destiny. There is Vayaktik Vyaktimatva, there is individual personality, there is contribution of ethnicity, there is contribution of the genetics, there is contribution of all delimitations such as caste, class, creed, gender, status, etc. Then locational gravities are there, that you belong to particular region. Just as you say, I am Indian, somebody is American, somebody is Japanese. So these have strong influences. Maybe you are just first time a Japanese person in your endless journeys, but yet you have that sense of belonging, that you are a Japanese, you are a Chinese, you are an Indian, you are an American, etc. Then there is language also influencing our Abhimana, the culture, ethnicity, again influencing our Abhimana. Then the family background is also influencing our Abhimana. Maternal and paternal ancestry also influencing our I-ness. So it is extremely complicated. And Ajna Chakra is adept in handling and managing. Now let me tell you just the efficacy of Ajna Chakra by just one example before we wrap up this session today. I will explain you of incidents. One of the spiritual masters was celebrating, or rather his disciples were celebrating his centenary centenary celebration of his life. He was 100 years old, a spiritual master. He had disciples spread wide all over the planet, all over the world. They all conglomerated for his centennial celebrations. Knowing that there would be huge crowd gathering on that occasion, they had made wonderful arrangements, security arrangements, etc., so that there won't be any untoward happenings in a large gathering where more than a million people had gathered. And therefore it was well organized. And the function was taking place. And during the celebration, it happened that a person, quite looking like a destitute, came at the outer entrance and expected a permission to take blessings of his master. He said, I was disciple and I am still disciple, but I have stayed away from him for many decades. I am visiting him after several decades, and I came to know about this centenary celebration, and therefore I want to take his blessings. So he requested for entry. They refused because of the tight security. So he would not be allowed. He said, please go and take permission of your master to refuse me. And he insisted and he sat there. He said, I am not going to move unless you permit me to go in and seek his blessings. So the security team people went to all the inner enclosures and reached the master and requested and informed him that somebody quite like a beggar is at the outer gate and insists that he should be given darshan. And we don't think that he is qualified to be entering, because he really seems to be a beggar. And they told his name, because this person at the gate has mentioned his name, and he said, please go and ask your master whether he is going to refuse me entry. So they told the name, and the moment they told the name, the master was excited and he said, please get that person in. He beseeched, please get that person in. So they had to obey his orders. They walked up to the gate outside and said that yes, there is a permission and he can go and have darshan. And they escorted him to where the master was, in a deep enclosure, in a huge kind of setup. And this person came to the master bearded, in dirty torn clothes, shabby appearance. He came and fell at the feet and got the blessings of his master. And he said, my earnest desire was to hold on to my life until I had a sight of you. And now I have seen you, I have taken my blessings, and here I surrender my life to you. And the person dies there at the feet of his master. Now the whole gathering around was taken aback. And then the master explained them that this person had the Agna Chakra in his control, and his wish was to breathe last in my presence, under my grace, and therefore he came for my blessings, And no sooner he got my blessings, he relinquished his life. He offered it to me. This is his willpower. Now that person was also around 85 years of age, but he was quite strong in his movement, did not appear to be so old. So Master declared that he is about 85 years of age, but his willpower was so strong that he wanted to offer his life to me at an opportune time, and he waited for my centenary celebration, and on this occasion he comes here and then offers his life to me and passes away. This is what Ajna Chakra can do. He wanted to offer himself to his master, which he did. He wanted to offer his life to master, which he did. And this is because of power of Ajna Chakra. So, I think that should best explain what Ajna Chakra does. So let us end the session here on this note. Let us proceed to this in our next session. Namaskar all of you.